Right, over the years, a number of interviews with Colin Powell, particularly his concern about actions following words, even peaceful words we were hearing on leaderships of various types in the Middle East at the time. We were building up our presence in Afghanistan after the 9/11 attacks. Ambassador John Negroponte joining us right now, reflecting on the life of Colin Powell. For those of you who probably are aware now, he passed away from COVID at the age of 84 years old. The ambassador was a former director of national intelligence, former U.S. ambassador to the UN, former U.S. ambassador to Mexico, so much more. So who better to sort of step back and take a look at the meaning of Colin Powell? Ambassador, thank you for joining us. He was always his own man. His biggest regret, apparently, was that speech, looking at weapons of mass destruction as the catalyst for our getting involved in the Middle East. But he was going on the intelligence he knew at the time. What do you make of his life and contributions?
Well, first of all, he was a wonderful man. I happen to have also been his deputy national security advisor when he was the advisor under Ronald Reagan, the last couple of years of the Reagan administration. So I've known him since 1987. He was adored, revered by everybody he touched in every career that he had, either as a soldier or a national security official or as a diplomat and a statesman. I think if you were to highlight his career, I think definitely winning the first Gulf War was probably his crowning achievement. And I think it was the last really clear-cut victory that our military achieved on that kind of a scale. And he needs to be remembered for that. He needs to be remembered for the Powell Doctrine, which held that you shouldn't get involved in these kind of conflicts unless you have a clear-cut vision of what you want to accomplish, that you use overwhelming force, and that you don't then get absorbed endlessly in post-conflict situations in that particular country. So, I mean, he lived by his word on that with respect to the first Gulf War. You mentioned the intelligence failure and his appearance before the United Nations in February of 2003. That was a mistake. He himself acknowledged it numerous times after the fact.
He did indeed. Ambassador, one thing that interested me is that over the years and then leading up to the collapse of Afghanistan, did you ever know how he felt, not only about the length of time we were there, but the way it all ended? I'm sure he wasn't happy about it.
You mean the outcome in Afghanistan? Yes. I never had a chance to talk to him about that, I regret to say. I guess my last conversation with him was about 6 months ago, but we really didn't get into the substance of foreign policy. I was just checking in. I knew he'd been ill. Yeah.
The other thing that stood out about him, Ambassador, is his, a lot of people identified him as just being Republican, but of course, he did support Barack Obama in 2008 and again in 2012. Was no fan of Donald Trump. What did you make of that, counter party person in him?
Well, first of all, I had a lot of conversation. When I was his deputy on the National Security Council, we had a lot of conversations about just about everything. And I never found Colin to be a particularly partisan individual. He may have been a Republican, but he wasn't hardcore into politics, really. And he was not even, in some cases, I'd say he wasn't even that comfortable with political type issues. And you see that really in the way he debated about whether to run for president or not. I think he had, I think he might have had a chance if he'd run back in the 1990s, but he decided not to. And he sort of said, well, I'm not that really comfortable with with that kind of a role or that kind of effort, and I'm not sure I have my heart in it. So I say that he just wasn't that partisan.
He did.
And like a lot of Americans, he votes for the person.
Right.
I mean, we all do that.
No, you're quite right about that. But he did go out of his way to criticize Donald Trump here and to say that he was even a threat to democracy. He pointed out we have a constitution and we have to follow that constitution, and the president has drifted away from it. He said, certainly we cannot in any way support President Trump this year. I mean, where did that bad blood come from? I mean, do you know of any private dealings or any conversations?
No, I believe because I was exactly in the same place. I'm a Republican. I was twice joined these efforts of former national security officials to oppose Mr. Trump. I believe he felt he was making an objective statement. Sorry to say that, but that's what I feel. And you remember the last thing he ever said about Mr. Trump was that the man lies.
Yes.
And Colin felt that nobody was holding Mr. Trump sufficiently to account for that. So I think he's just speaking the truth as he saw it.
Now, he was also critical of the January 6th uprising on Capitol Hill and laid it at the feet of Donald Trump. Now, just as this committee is looking into those events, how do you feel the warnings that Colin Powell had, and whether they even come up in those hearings?
I don't really know, to be honest with you. I also, have my own personal take on January 6th. I think if the Capitol Police had been a bit more effective at the outset, none of that might have happened. They didn't ask for help soon enough. I think Muriel Bowser and others were ready to help. We got a little messed up with the National Guard and getting them in time. So, that was both a political event, but it was also kind of an operational failure, which could have probably been averted by just more professional, more competent dealings with the situation.
All right, I guess that's what they're looking into. Ambassador, it's always an honor to have you, and remembering another bigger-than-life individual in the realm of American government.
A great American.
Indeed.
An absolutely great American.
In his own man.
Thank you.
In his own man. Ambassador, thank you very, very much.